On the morning of February 9, 1855, the residents of South Devon, England, woke to a sight that defied logic and ignited a wave of religious terror. A heavy snowfall had blanketed the countryside the night before, but as the sun rose, thousands of identical hoof-like prints were discovered stretching across the white landscape for nearly 100 miles. The prints were unlike anything seen before. They were cloven, resembling the hoof of a donkey or a goat, measuring about 4 inches long. But it wasn't just the shape that was terrifying. It was the gait. The prints followed a single, perfectly straight line, 1 foot directly in front of the other, as if the creature were walking on only 2 legs. As villagers tracked the marks, the mystery turned into a nightmare. The track did not stop for obstacles. The prints led directly up to 14-foot haystacks and continued on the other side. They marched up vertical walls, across the snowy rooftops of houses, and even through narrow drain pipes. Whatever made them moved as if gravity did not exist. In the town of Dawlish, the prints were found leading up to a closed door, stopping, and then resuming on the roof above. There were no signs of a leap or a climb. The tracks simply transitioned from horizontal to vertical surfaces without breaking the single-file stride. The villagers began to whisper a terrifying name, the Great Adversary. The trail spanned over 30 villages, crossing the vast Eshe estuary, a 2-mile stretch of freezing water. The prints reached the water's edge on one side and appeared exactly opposite on the other, as if the creature had walked across the surface of the waves. Panic gripped the county. Men armed themselves with pitchforks, afraid to step out after dark. Local naturalists tried to provide a rational explanation. Some suggested a stray kangaroo from a private menagerie, while others blamed leaping rats or badgers. However, no known animal walks in a perfectly straight, single-file line for 100 miles. Nor can a badger scale a vertical brick wall to walk across a chimney stack in the middle of a blizzard. The religious climate of the Victorian era fueled the fire. Many believed the devil had walked the earth that night to mark the homes of sinners. Churches were packed with terrified families, and the story reached the national press. The Illustrated London News reported that the prints were too sharply defined to be the result of melting snow or wind. A stranger theory emerged involving a secret atmospheric experiment. Some wondered if a weather balloon with a trailing shackle had dragged across the snow, creating the rhythmic, hoof-like marks. But this wouldn't explain how the shackle avoided snagging on trees or wither. Marks were found inside enclosed courtyards with no overhead access. Decades later, in 1957, a similar event occurred in the same region. A woman reported finding cloven hoofprints in her garden after a light dusting of snow. They followed the same straight line, scaled a wall, and vanished. Again, no tracks led back out. The devil seemed to have a recurring interest in the quiet hills of Devon. The devil's footprints remain a spooky masterpiece of the unexplained. It is a story of a silent, 100-mile march through the dark. To this day, science cannot explain how a single creature or a fleet of them could traverse rooftops, walls, and water in a single night without being seen by a single living soul in 30 different towns. As the winter winds howl across the Devon moors, locals still look at the fresh snow with a bit of trepidation. The mystery of 1855 is a reminder that sometimes the Earth records a history we aren't meant to understand. It is a tale of the walker in the night, leaving behind a trail of cloven questions that a century of logic has failed to erase. The story of the footprints is the ultimate phantom trail. It is a puzzle of physics and folklore. A reminder that under the right conditions, the world can reveal the tracks of something that shouldn't exist. Whether it was a natural phenomenon or a visitor from the shadows. The snow of 1855 held a secret that it took to the grave when it melted.